I'll start with you, Ambassador Sood. What is going on? How do we explain? Trump doesn't love, he deals. What's he hoping to get from Pakistan?
Thank you, Barkha. I guess this is the price one has to pay because since I was told that I'm the dinosaur in the group.
Correct, we have to start with the dinosaurs.
But I think there was a kind of, there's a fundamental mistake that we made in Trump's second term. Mm-hmm. I think that we thought we'd done well in the first term, and so there were good vibes from that. And we thought we had started off well on the second term by having a visit by Prime Minister Modi in February itself, where he announced that we'll begin negotiations on trade and things like that. But this was based on a couple of assumptions. One, as I said, that there was a good feeling that was still there. Second, it was that the fundamental strategic drivers behind India-US relationship that had been in evidence during Trump's first term, during the Biden term, before that during the Obama term, before that during the Bush years, and so on. So which had been there for 20, 25 years, were intact. Because it involved the Pentagon, it involved the State Department, it involved the White House, it involved everybody else, the various agencies. And the third thing was that, if you recall, a lot was made during Trump's first term about the Howdy Modi in Houston, about the Namaste Trump in Ahmedabad, and all of that. And we thought that the diaspora was batting for us very strongly. All these three assumptions got challenged. First, you saw that in the second term, Trump no longer had the minders, the elders in the room, so to say. So he had no holdbacks, unlike the generals and so on.
So no moderating influences.
Yeah. The second, I think we found quite quickly that whatever expectations there were from the diaspora, we should have kept them muted. And the third, which is the strategic drivers behind the relationship. Now there, we have to come to terms with Trump's worldview. And Trump's worldview, as you said, Barkha, is increasingly transactional. I mean, he's not interested in great power politics. He is not interested in geopolitics in that sense. Because in that sense, the US had accepted a core principle that a stronger, more economically developed India would be useful in an Asian balance of power. And from that point of view, would provide a balancing effect as far as China is concerned. Now, this was there right from Bush, and in fact, even to an extent in the final years of Clinton administration, when Jaswant Singh stroked Talbot talks, because we saw the role that the US played in ending the Kargil war. Trump, zero interest in this. He looks at things in terms of trade, he looks at MAGA and all of that. And if he imposed 100% tariffs or 140% tariffs on China, he was equally happy doing it on India with 50%, or he was equally comfortable doing it with EU, or with Japan, or with South Korea. So he doesn't make a difference between what was earlier seen as an ally, a partner, or a long-term geostrategic peer rival, which was the description of China in Trump's first term.
I mean, he didn't go after China in the beginning, though China was buying more Russian oil. It's only now that he's...
Well, but he never looked at it as a geostrategic peer rival, whereas in his first term, his national security strategy review calls China a peer rival. Now, if that is taken out, then what is left with the India-US relationship? I mean, he keeps saying, Modi, my good friend Modi. But then, if you're a good friend, then the least you can do is nominate the guy for the Nobel. I mean, you don't even do that. What kind of a good friend are you? So that's where we are.
Picking up on this sort of point that this started before Trump and we didn't see the signs. if you remember, sort of as Ambassador Javed Ashraf mentioned, there was a pushback on what Obama was trying to do, this idea that America was, there was the road sort of to peace for Kabul went through Islamabad and Delhi. Today we have Trump sending an envoy to India, who is also going to be the envoy for all of South Asia and Central Asia. And I've heard the argument that because he's going to be based in Delhi, that's an acknowledgement of Delhi as the fulcrum. But it is exactly the sort of stuff we pushed back against earlier, right? So I want to start there. And if you also want to join the dots with what Ambassador Ashraf argued, is a kind of situation where your military did really well, but your narrative didn't on Op Sindoor, and how much that has set us back, if you agree with that argument.
Well, I agree. I mean, with the appointment of Gore, Sajeev Gore, as the ambassador designate for India and the special envoy for South and Central Asia, we are certainly entering into a new territory. And it only means that if you can't convince India, if as and when he comes here after his confirmation, if you can't convince him that his principal client is Delhi, then I'm afraid we will have a very, very difficult relationship, both with him. He'll find it a difficult place to do work in, for sure. I mean, and it will have an adverse impact since he does have the presidency here. If he finds it difficult to work here, to get connections, to get his appointments and things like that, then surely it will get back to White House, and that is not going to help the relationship. But then this is part of how, I mean, both Arun and Javed agreed that Trump doesn't see things from a geopolitical sense, which is what I mentioned, which is why he makes no difference. It makes no difference to him when he imposes tariffs on allies like the Europeans or the Japanese or the South Koreans, or on partners like India, or on a peer strategic rival like China, because he no longer sees China through that strategic rival eyes. The second problem, and I think I'll bring in a slightly different issue with regard to the Op Sindoor and narrative and so on, and let me add something to this. I think what we have seen is, we have seen too much of a focus on foreign policy as driven by personalities. It's, all of us, in fact, Arun as well as Javed, and all three of us have worked on India-US relationship right from, I started in the 1990s. The first meeting was between Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and George Bush Sr. on 31st of January 1992 in New York, on the margins of the UN Security Council, the first UN Security Council summit. And all of us have been involved with it. I think the most recently was Arun when he was ambassador in Washington. So, and we've had good relationships. Vajpayee had a good relationship with Clinton. Bush had a good relationship first with Vajpayee, although he used to say, "Baat kam karte hain." But he also had a very respectful approach to Dr. Manmohan Singh. Trump had his chai pe charcha with Obama and all of that. And
you mean Modi had his chai pe charcha with Obama?
Yeah, with Modi had his chai pe charcha with Obama. And then, of course, even with Trump. But then, with Modi, we've now seen a growing thing, whether it is with the Saudis, whether it is with or even when it was with the Chinese, when Xi Jinping came here, and there were these pictures of the two of them in Sabarmati and all of that. So there is a personalized way of looking at relationships. And I'm afraid media tends to take that and, you know, you attribute it to, look, what a great friendship. I mean, this is the success of foreign policy kind of thing. But actually, it is driven much more by hard work that goes behind it. So...
I mean, that's true for us. It's no longer true for Trump's America. There, it's actually Trump
yes.
personalizing all decision-making.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that all your relationships, but we have transformed that into all our relationships. And secondly, on Op Sindoor, what has happened is that, you know, Pakistan, which is a foreign policy, is also has become part of domestic policy.
It's always been.
Not to that extent. No, not to that extent. I mean, so today it is far more an aspect of domestic policy. I mean, look at the recent cricket matches. There's one tomorrow. I mean, all of you have seen the controversy about when the first one took place, the quarterfinal, when there was no shaking of hands after that, and then the second one where there was some more of, you know, the Pakistani cricketer, the batsman sort of putting his bat and all. So what, I mean, this is, we've made it domestic policy, and it's not helpful. And as Javed reminded us, you know, in the process of this personalized cult and wanting a seat at the big table, we forgot that your neighborhood is most important. And I think I mentioned last time when when we were talking about this somewhere, that, you know, the world sees it. And if you can't manage your neighborhood, sorry, you are not going to be at the big table where the big boys are. अगर आप मोहल्ले के चौधरी नहीं हैं तो आप शहर के कोतवाल नहीं बन सकते. So, सीधी बात.